Welcome back to DUBBZI Bricks for another episode of building the Tantive in Lego. In the last update we worked on this section just here, and I have just placed an order with lego.com for a load of pieces. It's going to need me to strengthen this section up here, replace those dark bluish grey bricks. I've got all the parts to do the opposite one of these for down that end. I've ordered the parts for doing the roof in there so I can have the lights shining down. Now somebody did suggest one piece in a clear colour, however there were none in stock. So unfortunately I wasn't able to order them. So whether or not they come back in the future and I'm able to change them over, I'm not sure. But I'm just going to try the white tiles for the time being. The part that was suggested, and I'll put it on screen now, was such a good idea. And I think if I can somehow get hold of them, I definitely will do so in the future, as I do think it will enhance the lighting in that part. Now, I was able to get up to Lego store a couple of weeks ago, and they had a whole load of ball joints on the wall, the pick a brick wall. So I did pick some up, and that's going to enable me to work on the skin of the vessel just here. And that's what we're going to be working on in this update. I can't wait to get this entire cockpit section all tiled off, plated off. It's just going to be such a relief to see that shape on there and know that we can get the shape that we're looking for in the build. Once we've got that bit, I think the rest of the ship is going to be a lot easier to work through, as we're going to learn a lot of techniques, I think, on doing these two sections. So without further ado, let's get the plates out, get the tiles out, get those ball joints, and let's get started. And the fun and games are underway here, and it is already proven to be quite the challenge. And yeah, it's going to take quite a while to get this done. But once I start getting my head around it, I'm sure it's going to be a lot easier. I'm using the 3x3 plates here to attach my tiles to, and I've put a 2x2 in the middle of there. So it's not actually lined up with the studs on the top. And the reason for that is when I have the ball joints on there, if I use the ball joints to connect two 3x3 plates together, you've got the knobbly bit there, the connection point. So I need to cover that over basically. Now, I did do a ring to go all the way around here, and it didn't work. They don't line up perfectly on when you're looking this way. So this part here was going slightly in. It was a really jagged look all the way around. So I decided I was going to try doing loads of two panels together. So that'd be on one ball joint, then we'll do another one and another one, and so on until we get all the way around. Now, I've put these plates on the bottom of the tiles here, and that's to hide the gaps that you'll see along here, because this isn't a perfect circle, far from it. So that's helping with that. However, what that then means is this gap here is slightly larger than if I didn't have the plates there, because these two plates here are connecting, or are knocking into each other. So I'm just wondering whether or not to go down to not connecting two of these together. So I'll just have each one of these have its own ball joint, have a different connection point all the way in the substructure here. And then that way, hopefully I'll be able to get that gap a little bit closer together. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on experimenting with this. I haven't got any red tiles to do the ring around here, so I'm having to do it in white for the time being. And also I haven't got any 3x1 red plates as well. So once I've worked out the design that we're going to go for, I can then order in the pieces I'm going to need to do it in the correct colour. But yeah, great fun trying to get my head around all of this. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get there. Anyway, let's get back to experimenting and see what we can come up with. And I decided I would try FlexiTube. However, we didn't have any success with that. The problem with the tube, it just wants to straighten out, and I've had to have a lot of strength behind the bit it's clipped to keep it all in place. And yeah, it's just not in the right place. I can't bring it over any further to where I want to do so. So I'm going to scrap the FlexiTube and go back to using the ball joints. And fingers crossed we will find something that we're happy with. And there we have the top half all sorted and relatively happy with it. I mean, the gaps, they do annoy me. However, it's my own fault for picking a build which has got loads of curves on it, because you're always going to have this sort of problem. So I do need to work on it a lot more though. At the moment, we've just got three connection points. Got one here, and one around the side. And that's holding the entire ring together. And these are in three separate sections, which again, these three here are connected via ball joints. These four here are by ball joints. And again, the last three again. And I want to have more connection points on there, because what I don't want to happen is in 6 months' time, all of a sudden panels start drooping, or not working as they should be, especially as a convention. It's going to be ages away before this is ready to go to a convention. So I don't want it to be there and all of a sudden you can see massive gaps because the ball joint's failing. So I don't know how they hold up over time. On my statue, on my bridge on Gotham City, the arms started dropping on the hinge pieces because they just gave up after a certain period of time. So yeah, just need to make sure that this is going to be good in the long term. And I'm definitely going to have to change my approach with how I connect these panels to the actual fuselage here, as they're so weak. This is only on by a couple of studs, and see how easy that all falls off. And the last thing I want is to have this problem whilst on the way to a convention. Can you just imagine having to rebuild the entire section there? It just wouldn't happen. So I'm going to try a different way where there's multiple connection points on here. But yeah, this is proving to be a challenge. One I knew I was going to have. I'm just going to see if there are any other techniques. I have managed to get to the Dublin Lego store, and I've got a whole load of the 3x jumper plates, and also I got a load more of the ball joints piece as well there. So yeah, I went to Blanchardstown yesterday, and for a Sunday before Christmas, it was rammed in there, and this customer service was still fantastic. They were still going down to the storeroom left, right and centre to get parts for me for this in the Tantive. So massive thank you to Ryan and also to Si for your super service as per usual. And I managed to find out enough of the red tiles to actually do this ring round here, so I don't have to wait to get those in from Lego, which is really cool. So we will be able to get this section done. But it is so annoying, these gaps in here. I just wish I could find a technique which would just get it that little bit closer together so you don't see the ugly gaps through there. I'm sure once it's all done, it's not going to be as noticeable, but I've started using these door frame or modified plates, whatever you want to class them as, to try and hide the gaps. But yeah, it's frustrating that I can't just get an angle a little bit better on there. And there we have the top half done, and it's growing on me. If I do come up with another solution for closing those gaps, then obviously I will do so. But all in all, for the shape that I'm having to create here, on the scale that I'm creating it, I'm relatively happy with how it's coming along. Now, what I'm going to do, rather than go all the way round on this in this update, I'm going to replicate this on the far end. Due to the complexity of how it's all connected at the back, I want it to be the same on both sides, so at least I can copy it from side to side, and then as I go along and do a section on here, I'll do it on the other side until we've completed the entire skin. But yeah, it's taken quite a while to get there, and if we show you the inside of here, as you can see, there's lots of bricks, lots of plates. We've got hinge pieces with ball joints on the end of them as well, just to try and create as many different angles as possible. But anyway, let's start turning our attention to the other end, get that side done, and then I'll start working on this section just here. And that's the red ring put on both sides. Just a little bit of tweaking with the actual position of them on there, but I've still got to do all the decorative parts on the end panel there, so I'm going to need to lift them all up, so I'll sort it all out once we've done so. But yeah, hopefully it's going to look all good once we've got the rest of the paneling on there. Still trying to accept those massive gaps in between the plates there, but I'm sure I'll get used to it eventually. And I knew this was going to be exceptionally hard trying to get this built, but I don't think I realised how hard it was going to be. And these panels are just proving so problematic, so difficult. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to experiment now by using brick built panels as opposed to plate built ones and tiled ones. I'm just going to see if there's any way, because there are some bricks where you can overlap and it doesn't really show, and I think that might be beneficial to me to look at going down that route. So let's get some bricks and plates out and have a little bit of an experimentation and see if we can come up with something that looks a little bit tidier than what we have just here. And we have good news and we have bad news. The good news is I've found a technique here that I'm really happy with, and I think this is definitely the way forward, and it's a brick built here, and the part that is being used so much are these modified, I don't know what you class them as, plates, tiles, bricks, whatever, but yeah, we're using a whole load of those here. It just enables you to overlap and it closes the gaps, which is so much better. And when I look at this compared to this over here, although that's got a little bit of a curve to it and it's nice and smooth, I prefer this. I just think it's going to give me so much more detail in there. We can put different colour plates in. The downside to this, I haven't got the parts I need for it, so I'm going to have to order in hundreds and hundreds, well, probably thousands of pieces just to get this section here all done. But I think it's going to be well worthwhile doing so. I haven't got any of these in white, and when you look, see, I mean, there's just 7 there, and that's just on one panel. To go all the way round, yeah, it's going to be several hundred of those, but it's going to be well worthwhile in the long run. I would have liked to have built the whole lot of this, but the problem I've got is I've got nowhere near enough of these, so I'm not going to be able to get that much done. If I get it all done, I'm then going to have to break it all back down once to do all the colour swapping in there. So the best thing for me to do is just get the parts in and then concentrate on doing that section. So yeah, it's nice to know what we're going to be doing going forward, but very frustrating that we haven't got the parts, and it's not going to be till next year that we get those parts in. Now, I am wondering whether or not I can do a similar thing on this part just here. It would be quite nice if I could, but I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be possible to do so. Due to the way that this is going to be very close to the brickwork here, it's not going to be possible for me to get one of these parts here going this way. If I could have overlapped them all the way round. But yeah, that's not going to be possible, and also it wouldn't look quite right on the end bit here. So yeah, just I'll have a think about it, see if there is any other options with this, but at the moment I think I'm going to have to stick to this end panel looking as it is at the moment. But yeah, that is definitely going to be a massive step forward going that way. Now, one thing I want to concentrate on doing now is the section that comes across this part here, getting it all ready so we can then start doing the cockpit behind. And this is turning into just a prototyping update by the looks of it. Once again, we're trying to build something and we haven't got the correct pieces, which, to be fair, I knew was going to be happening quite a lot throughout this build series. But it's still good fun working out how we're going to get around the problems. We're just ordering all of the parts. Now, this is the section that goes outside of the cockpit window. It needs to be in dark red. And what I wanted to do is have 3 slopes here and then 3 inverted slopes on that side, so it's just one big panel. I could have done this in plates, however there have been loads of studs exposed as there's no tiles that are the right angle, so I thought brick built is the best way forward. Now, the inverted slopes in dark red, they are only in a handful of sets, and the last set that was produced was back in 2024, or that's when it retired, sorry. So they're no longer producing that piece in Lego sets. And on Pick-a-Brick, it is shown as out of stock, probably due to that reason. So I'm not confident of Lego actually putting that back in stock until it's in another new set. Hopefully I'm wrong, but what I think I have to do is go for what I've done here, which is using just the normal slopes on both sides. So this is 2 separate panels, and it's just kept down there at the moment by brackets. We will try and find a better way of connecting that. I need to make sure that the height is exactly right. But one problem I have just come across is that this section here, I don't think I've brought it over far enough. If you look at the gap there between the two on the picture here, where that slope goes up, it almost reaches the corner of this bit here, which is what we're just building at the moment. So I just need to remeasure everything and make sure we got that right. And again, this part here, I think looking at the image on here, on the blueprints once again, it does actually slope down, but I don't think that's going to be a good idea to do it on there. I think I'm just going to have to use some creative license and just keep it so it is a rectangle, nice and square, so to speak, rather than having the bottom sloping down. Because I think if I start sloping it down, I'm just going to create so many more headaches for me with the whole build there. But anyway, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to amend this section here, bring that over a little bit further. I think this might be able to come over a little bit more as well to help the cause, because there is a slope that goes across this way, and I think that will solve all of those problems. So yeah, let's work on both these sides here, get those all sorted, and yeah, I'll check back in once we've made a little bit more progress. And that's the amendments made to the front. So what I've done, I've actually moved this along by, I think it was 4 studs, maybe 3 or 4 studs. So these circles have now been brought along, which means they're a fraction too small for the purpose, but I can it's not a problem because these are going to be resting on it, so I can just block out behind this to get that working fine. And obviously I put the panels over this side, they were over that side originally, but I just wanted to get an idea of how it's going to look with all the details on the side there. Now, I did remeasure all of the dimensions of the front of the cockpit section here, and these red lines here should actually be about 6 studs in length as opposed to the 4 that I've done there. So I'll just remove those row tiles there and turn them into red ones. And I am going to have a good think about if there is a way that I can do a brick built technique on there, or whether or not I can do brick built and also tiles as well. I have got one idea which I'm not sure whether or not it's going to work, but I'll have a little bit of an experimentation with it over the coming weeks, and yeah, fingers crossed we will come up with a solution. Now this is obviously brick built, as I mentioned before, and it's very, very flimsy, so I need to find a way of strengthening that. I do want to keep it brick built as I don't want the studs on top, but I need to work out exactly how I'm going to go about it so I can order in the right bricks in dark red. Now, it's been quite frustrating not being able to get anything actually finished in this update. It's all been prototyping, but when you build a mock like this, you're going to have a lot of prototyping, so you need to work out how you're building it so you can then get the parts in. But what I will be doing whilst I'm waiting to get the parts in for doing that, there are plenty of other bits I can work on, such as the cockpit area, the details inside. It'd be really good to get working on that. I have got a lego.com order on the way, and there's parts in there so I can do more of the corridor section just there as well. So there is still plenty that we're going to be able to get on with in the next update. And one other thing I did notice when I was measuring everything was this part here was too small as well, so we've extended that. Actually, I'm much happier with the look of that as well. I think it could do with sticking out a little bit more, but it might be that this is sticking out this way a little bit too much, so I will have a good look at that when I do these panels properly once we've got all of the parts in. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this update. If you have, please remember to give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. And if you know anybody else you think could be interested in building the Tantive in Lego, if you can share the channel with them, it'd be much appreciated. Anyway, thanks for popping by, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.